यह है, आप उसमें प्राइमर लगा दीजिएगा।
हाँ तो सर मेरे को बताओ ना, तो आई एम ऑन द डेस्क। बिफोर आई थिंक वी शुड, बिफोर प्रोसीडिंग अहेड वी शुड सी these are questions. So
मैं
let me read.
या
So Nidhi has to say that NMDC produces 40 metric ton per annum. Why market don't give appreciations? Is it due to the government sector or any other reason? See, NMDC is making iron ore, that is okay. But iron ore at the end of the day is used to make these pellets, right? And the pellets which the company is making, these are mostly, well, because anywhere if you see secondary steel has to be made, pellets are required. Until and unless you don't make these pellets, you cannot make secondary steel. ठीक है. Another which roadblock for GPIL is their sponge iron plant. They have the capacity, but they don't have the permission. So this is the answer to that. So for say 5 quarters, which we had discussed in the last call, I hope तुमने attend किया या सुन लिया होगा. They would be selling these iron ore in the market, which will be increasing their PAT and the sales. So the stock price will go up and down and cyclical and so on and so forth. Next question आपका राकेश सर आपका है, my mic is spoiled. I think I came to know from recording both the headphones and अच्छा चलो. Was trying to ask what prevents GPIL to keep selling the iron ore excess capacity after the new mining capacity expansion. Sir, see, ideally, अगर आप देखो, there are multiple small businesses in Raipur making secondary steel, and there are 3-4 big players in Raipur, or maybe 5. One player has captive capacity, others don't have. Okay, so if I am the person who has the captive capacity and I don't sell that captive capacity, जब मेरा 4-5 क्वार्टर के लिए बढ़ जाता है प्रोडक्शन, and if I don't sell it in the open market, the others will have a crisis of raw material, right? Because they have to produce, they have to buy from the market. So when there is a crisis of raw material and I am not supplying the raw material, आज भी नहीं कर रहा हूँ, and what will happen? The prices of raw material, which is iron ore, which is available in Odisha, जहाँ से सारा माल आता है, the prices for a temporary period of few months will increase. So even if I don't sell this raw material excess capacity for 5 quarters in the market and I take a hit of inventory, you will see my working capital going up, but I will be creating an artificial bubble in the raw material market in where others are concerned, right? And if iron ore prices go up and my prices are not going up because I have created that artificial shortage because I'm not supplying my excess production in the market, increases my margins with a subsequent increase in my working capital. So the company will say, I am a cash rich company, and even if my working capital goes up, not a problem. But the profits will go up more. समझ रहे हो मैं क्या बोलना चाह रहा हूँ?
मेरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट था कि आप बोलते हो कि उसके बाद में देखना एक बार उनका कैपेसिटी आ जाएगा, जहां उन लोग कंज्यूम करना शुरू कर देंगे तो उनका एकदम ठक से ड्रॉप हो जाएगा. तो आई वाज सेइंग काय ड्रॉप होगा, आप वो बेचते रहो बाहर. इफ यू थिंक आयरन ओर इट्स मोर प्रॉफिटेबल सेल
Ideally,
आयरन वर्सेस
sir,
प्रोसेसिंग.
ideally, if I am in the business, ideally, if I am running the company, अगर मैं नया नया सीट पे आके बैठा हूँ and I'm नया नया I'm trying to make decisions to run the business, I would sell it in the market to gain profits. So that would be short-term profits, right? But if I am a veteran in the business and I don't know the raw material cycle, I will create an artificial shortage. So no matter my working capital requirements are going up, say for 1 year or so, my cash flows will be down, but I'm creating an artificial shortage in the market, and this artificial shortage will increase my margins.
अंडरस्टूड. नहीं नहीं, वो तो समझ गया सर, समझ. आई गॉट इट. तो
Or we are saying after that the steel plant comes up, there would be more validations. Yeah, definitely there would be more validations. They have a 0.5 metric ton steel plant. They go to 1.5 ton steel plant. So when this happens, obviously everything which they produce, this company is going to be totally backward integrated across the value chain, and no other company is totally backward integrated across the value chain, right? I can.
फिर आप ये मत कहिए ना कि एकदम ठप से उनका बॉटम लाइन ड्रॉप हो जाएगा. ड्रॉप नहीं होगा. एक्चुअली दैट इज द थिंग दैट आई वाज ट्राइंग.
Sir, I am not giving you any judgment. I am giving you the outcomes. if
Okay.
outcome A, outcome B, or outcome C. So,
Right.
as per our last con call, we need to know the reasons. What are the reasons? I am giving you the outcome A, B, and C. अगर मेरा आउटकम ये होगा या वो होगा तो उसके हिसाब से मेरे को डिसीजन क्या लेना चाहिए. That is what I was trying to tell you.
Understood, sir. Understood, sir.
But sir, you're saying the artificial shortage is created when you say, but if the other guys don't have any captive mines, that shortage is long term, right? How is it only artificial and
No,
short term?
it is short term now because see, captive mines, their mines is in Odisha. So now you see from where that NMDC ka material is coming. Who will not be happy to buy material where you have to pay less of freight cost because your raw material is heavy and bulky, and who would want to pay more of freight cost and get it from a far location? That is why.
Yeah, so that advantage is always there with this company, right?
Yes.
Because the other players don't have any nearby mine, captive mines, and this guy has. So they always have that advantage, right? Why is it artificial and short term? That's what I was trying to understand.
See, because when he doubles his capacity, he can sell it in the market, and people will buy. That is
exactly.
That is
so he can keep it. So he can keep on doing that, right? He can keep on doing that because he always has that advantage.
But why will he do that?
No, the question is, sir, if he's going to be able to have that advantage of pricing because the local players are not having any such option, they have to buy from someone like them.
If I am sitting in that chair, why will I do that? I will force them to buy from the far away places and to pay more of transportation cost. So this is called cartelization, no? I will force them to cut down on their margins. Why will I give them the ability to increase their margins?
That is because you can generate more money, right? Selling iron ore also they are able to make money, right? Because what we were talking about in the last call is that
मैंने वही बोला, he should not do that. अगर वो बंदा नया कुर्सी पे आके बैठा है तो then he will definitely do that. Because when you are new, you are young, you want to capture more profits. When you are entering the stock market, you want to trade more, you want to capture all the profit, all the breakouts and all the breakdowns. But since over time when you mature, you see, I should avoid these kind of setups and I should not go in these kind of setups. You try and filter out. So if the promoter is new, he will definitely sell. If the promoter is mature, he will take a lag on the working capital, but he will not sell.
So you're saying he will preserve his raw material for his own use later on, because there is only limited amount of ore that can come out of that capacity, that basically that mine that he has
in the nearby vicinity.
Right. No, but the point really, why this question is coming up, sir, because we said once he starts to use his own raw material for making pallets, because pallet capacity is going up, doubling almost, then his margin is going to go down. So that was the point. If
he is selling, if आप सब confused हो गए, मैंने आपको outcomes दिए हैं कि what are the 2-3 different kinds of outcomes. See, if he is a shrewd promoter, why would he utilize the iron ore deposits to full capacity? He will run it at 60%, 70% capacity. जितनी जरूरत है ज्यादा क्यों बनाओ?
ओके, ज्यादा बनाएगा ही नहीं. ओके,
ज्यादा बना के वर्किंग कैपिटल को क्यों मैं हैवी कर लूं? जब पहले प्लांट आएगा तब ज्यादा बना लूंगा ना.
Okay, got it.
That way. So that depends upon the decision of the promoter. I have given you outcomes. 3-4 जो outcomes हैं या 3-4 जो चीजें वो करने की कर सकता है. What are the outcomes? Okay, next question ma'am is, as per my understanding, company's intention is not to buy raw material from outside. Yes. So that their economics is in control, which is their moat. From other companies, after backward integration, it will impact bottom line as well as top line if the revenue grows. Yes. For any commodity company, edge is needed, whether value-added products or not. Any backward integration is an edge, correct? Expo is doing the same thing, creating a value-added product out of the commodity for an edge. Expo का जो value-added product है वो तो जब आप लोग discuss करोगे, I will not say anything about Expo because still we have to discuss that. There is a value-added product which is a hidden moat in Expo. That is why I told you to read about this company. Then Rakesh sir says, you are right, ma'am. राकेश सर आप ही बता दो ना, इतना सारा मेरे को क्यों पढ़वा रहे हो?
हो गया, अभी अंडरस्टूड हो गया. आप आगे जब कर दीजिएगा.
अच्छा, क्यों आप लोगों की बहुत सारा वो चला है, डिस्कशन चला है, कंटिन्यूस डिस्कशन.
हाँ जी,
Then
हाँ जी.
Deepti ma'am says, I was busy doing puja preparation. Tell me when you have to discuss expo. Thanks हो गया, उसके बाद आपका को आ गया, फिर ये सब चीजें आ गई. चलो, तो आज कोई पूजा वूजा है क्या? सॉरी, मुझे पता नहीं था यार. हेलो, इज देयर सम
हाँ
पूजा?
सर, आज हमारे यहाँ ना ये अहोई अष्टमी की पूजा होती है, तो वो चल
सॉरी, मेरे को बिल्कुल आइडिया नहीं था, तो मैं आज नहीं करता कॉल. मेरे को, अगर आप लोग बिजी थे तो आगे कुछ चलें या शेड्यूल करें कॉल, बिकॉज सब लोग नहीं है.
सब लोग ही
नहीं कर सकते हैं इसमें ना, इसमें कुछ ज्यादा मतलब लेडीज का ही फास्ट होता है शाम को, इस टाइम पूजा होती है, बाकी तो कुछ नहीं है.
नहीं सर, मैं लेडीज का ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. मैं तो ये पूछ रहा था कि आगे अपन करें क्योंकि सब लोग नहीं है, या शेड्यूल करें.
यू कैन डिसाइड सर, वट एवर फील कंफर्टेबल.
और राकेश सर इज द बॉस ऑफ द ग्रुप, जैसा राकेश सर बोलेंगे.
आप बताएं, जितना ज्यादा लोग हो. मैं तो इधर ही बैठा हूँ. आज सैटरडे संडे सब.
सी, कॉल इज रिकॉर्डेड, बाकी सब एवरीथिंग इज रिकॉर्डेड, कॉल इज रिकॉर्डेड. जितना ज्यादा हो या कम हो, सर एक्चुअली क्या है कि मेरे को 4 साल हो गए ये बैच 4 करते करते, 3 से 4 साल हो गए. पहला मेरा ये फोकस होता था कि पढ़ो 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 करो. अभी मैंने सब छोड़ दिया है. जिसको अच्छा लगे करो, जिसको नहीं अच्छा लगे मत करो. मैं किसी को बोलने नहीं वाला. सो माई टास्क इज जस्ट टू शेयर द स्टफ एंड नथिंग एल्स. So any company of your preference, anybody? जीपीएल को ही ले ले, क्योंकि हमने लास्ट वही उसी की बात कर रहे थे. जीपीएल को ले ले, क्यों कोई और कंपनी ले.
सर एक्सप्रो के ऊपर डिस्कशन होने वाला था क्या?
सर एक्सपो का डिस्कशन आप लोगों ने सबने करना है जिन्होंने उसकी पढ़ाई करी है. You will have to share your thesis and your antithesis and all those things. I am to showing you something else, not about Expo. There were several parts to it. मेरे को कहीं जाना पड़ गया. I still just came back to my office. So if you want, I can take ahead. So I'm just asking you, क्या हम जीपीएल को ही ले लें
सर
और अब
कर
नेक्स्ट
लेते हैं ना
डिस्कशन.
सर, रिकॉर्ड तो ही रहा है.
हाँ हाँ, रिकॉर्ड तो होगा.
आप स्पेशली आए हो तो प्लीज ले लीजिए.
क्या बात नहीं सर, स्पेशली वो तो आना ही पड़ता. मेरा भी काम था, तो मैं अपना काम छोड़ के कुछ अर्जेंट काम में भागा था. So I'm back. So let's take GPL only. Now the thing is, चलो उसको मिलने से पहले एक मुझे बताओ कि वॉरेन बफेट को कौन जानता है?
सर जानते तो सभी हैं, मतलब पर्सनली नहीं जानते हैं, बट जानते तो ही.
पर्सनली जानना, पर्सनली मैं भी नहीं जानता सर. पर्सनली का मतलब ही नहीं. सो आपको पता होगा कि वो पब्लिक अपीयरेंसेस में आके बार बार इंटरव्यूज देते हैं, और आप लोगों ने कई बार यूट्यूब पे सुने भी होंगे और देखे भी होंगे, बहुत सारी चीजें होंगी. So one statement which Mr. Buffett makes, or Munger makes, or any value investor makes, and Parag Parikh sir also made, and Junjun Malaji also made, and many people also emphasized on this statement. I will just say the same thing. ध्यान से सुनो. A great business or a good business is a business which can deploy incremental amounts of capital at incremental amounts of rate. So this is the gist of what we are going to do ahead. किसी को क्या समझ में आया प्लीज?
सर कैन यू रिपीट इट वंस प्लीज?
A great business is a business which deploys incremental amounts of capital at incremental amounts of rate.
रेट मतलब अर्निंग रिटर्न सर.
हाँ, कुछ भी आपको क्या समझ में आया वो एक बार आप बोलो.
अब आया इसी का सर,
सर
हमेशा ही तो क्यों आया
बेसिकली
इसी.
मेरा अंडरस्टैंडिंग है सर कि if I'm putting an incremental amount of money in the business, I should at least be getting the return for the incremental money, which is more than what I was getting at the lower capital or lower investment. It should be at least matching that. It should not reduce my
And how do I find out?
ROIC.
And ROIC की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं. And how do I find out that in businesses? Okay, if I ask you since the last 3 years or 5 years, let's take an example of GPIL only. हम लोग randomly वो खुला हुआ screen पे, तो we take an example of that. How much money has the company or the business or the management has put in last 3 years? I'll show you my screen, and here you go. This is the balance sheet. Last 3 years. 21, 22, 23.
I don't think
How
much. I think much.
much का तो कोई जब मतलब नहीं सर.
जिस मेंटेनेंस का लिया हुआ है, आई डोंट थिंक नहीं दिखा.
नंबर सर, नंबर मच का तो कोई बैरोमीटर नहीं है.
सर शेयर कैपिटल प्लस रिजर्व्स तीनों साल का.
प्लस
Sir, 2000 crores approximately.
and how do you come to that number?
So basically your capital employed 34 plus 2001. I should have also added the borrowing, but I left it.
And from where you see that capital employed coming?
From share capital reserves and borrowing, sir.
चलो सस्पेंस खत्म करता हूँ सबका. This is your
नहीं हुआ है, आप देखिए ना उधर.
this is your Godavari. एक मिनट सर, एक मिनट. This is your Godavari sheet. So let's find out. Keep the question of dilution and keep the question of debt aside for a minute. Let's find out what has the company earned in the last 3 years. Am I correct in doing this? I cumulated the PAT of the last 3 years, which is 638 crores, 1466 crores, and 793 crores. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now my question to you is, how much of this amount has he put back into the business and how much he has not put back into the business?
क्रॉस ब्लॉक और कैपिटल वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस देखिए तो पता चलेगा.
नहीं, कैपिटल वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस तो जरूरी थोड़ी कि एसेट 1 साल में बन जाएगा. एसेट 2-3 साल में भी बन सकता है ना. तो वो तो आपका उसमें जाएगा नहीं कैपिटल वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस तो, या इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल में, बिकॉज स्टिल इट इज वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस.
द ग्रॉस ब्लॉक ऑफ द 3 years प्लस द लास्ट year's कैपिटल वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस से उससे पता चल जाएगा. नहीं.
See, there are lots of ways to calculate working this capital employed. Now, how I like to do is by this. So what I'm doing is I'm going down to the balance sheet and I'm toggling these current liabilities because Screener will not export all the numbers. So I'm just copying trade payables and customer advances. These are the 2 columns which I'm copying and I'm pasting them here. Trade payables and customer advances. So I'm calculating everything as capital employed. And how do I do that? I do that by doing total assets minus current liabilities. And these 2 items are the current liabilities, trade payables and advances. बाकी जो भी उसके पास है, चाहे वो इन्वेस्टमेंट हो, चाहे वो वर्किंग कैपिटल हो, चाहे वो वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस हो, चाहे वो एफडी हो, चाहे वो कुछ भी हो, इज द कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड. I'm not talking about invested capital, I'm talking about employed capital. There is a difference in capital employed and deployed. So here I come to my calculation of capital employed, which is this line.
पहला फिगर 94, ये 100 crores आपने एक फिगर मिस कर दिया था कॉपी पेस्ट में.
क्या मिस कर रहे हैं?
पहला वाला फिगर है 190. आप उधर जाइए वापस तो पता चलेगा. नहीं स्क्रीनर में जाइए.
क्या मिस किया
हाँ,
सर?
ये जो 194 है आपने यूज कॉपीड 94 इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन. द फर्स्ट फिगर टॉप ग्रेड.
क्या बात है? दैट इज कॉल्ड अ कंप्यूटर प्रोग्राम है ना. कंप्यूटर प्रोग्राम में ये गलतियां पकड़ सकता है और कोई नहीं पकड़ सकता. एक्सेलेंट. क्या बात है सर. So what I have done over here is I have taken this total assets minus minus your liabilities. So I have done a total of this number, which is the trade payables and advances, और total assets या total liabilities की बात है. उसके अंदर से मैंने ये current liabilities निकाल दी, तो ये मेरा capital employed हो गया. Now this is my cumulative earnings for the last 3 years. Now I want to calculate my capital employed in the last 3 years. So I do this number minus the number 4 years ago. So out of 2,898 crores of cumulative earnings, the company, the business, the management has been able to deploy back 1313 crores. So which is this number divided by this number gives me a percentage of 50%. 45%, not even 50%, 45%. तो मोटा मोटा अगर मैं 1 रुपए कमा रहा हूं तो मैं 45 पैसा बिजनेस में वापस डाल रहा हूं, बाकी का पैसा बाहर निकाल रहा हूं. Now I am giving you numbers. I am not giving you अंदाजा. ये अंदाजा नहीं है. अब चाहे इसको मैं डेट पेमेंट में करूं, चाहे मैं इसको सब्सिडी को दे दूं, चाहे मैं इससे बाय बैक कर लूं, चाहे मैं कुछ कर लूं, एक्चुअल कोर बिजनेस के अंदर मेरा जो पैसा गया है वो गया है 45% लास्ट 3 years. समझ में आ गया? दिस इज कॉल्ड रीइन्वेस्टमेंट रेट. ऑब्वियसली दिस इज माय क्यूमुलेटिव अर्निंग्स. इसके अंदर से मैंने क्यूमुलेटिवली इतना कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड कंपनी में डाला, बाकी का निकल गया बाहर. कहाँ निकल गया वो अलग बात है. Now this company you see is making huge amount of free cash flows. Now if I take an ROIC, मैंने कंपनी में डाला invested capital, what is my average return of ROIC in the last 3 years? चलो let's leave this 52%. This is a one-off. Let's take an average of 27 and 25. So can I take an average of 25%? So this money which I have reinvested back into the business, I have been able to compound this money at the rate of 25%. ज़्यादा हो गया, right? So in the last 3 years, money reinvested back at the rate of compound, my intrinsic value in the business has grown by 11%. There is a question: if I have put the money back and utilized it, अभी तो सिर्फ एक हाइपोथेटिकल एग्जांपल चल रहा है कि मैंने 1 रुपए में से 45 पैसे धंधे में वापस लगा दिया, जिसके ऊपर मुझे 25 पैसे की कमाई हो रही है, रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल. So my intrinsic value something different, price is something different. In the last 3 years has grown at a CAGR rate of 11%. Now what is value? What has grown? Once you see this business, you will see that this business has got huge amounts of cash. कैश और कैश, फ्री कैश. उसके पहले नहीं था, अचानक इसमें फ्री कैश आ गया. So what has he deployed back into the business and what has grown is basically free cash flow yield. So what I am doing is I am dividing free cash flow by the number of shares, which gives me a free cash flow by share, and I am taking it a percentage of stock price. Right?
Sir, just repeat it. Sir, please repeat it.
I am taking free cash flow, which is here, which is a cash flow from operations minus your investing activities, because इसमें कोई ज़्यादा assets के लिए invest किया नहीं है. Then what I am doing is cash flow from investing operations के अंदर से मेरा working capital का adjustment भी आ गया, right? So I'm adjusting my working capital requirements, I'm adjusting my capex requirements from my cash flow, and this is what is left is called free cash flow. From this free cash flow, I am dividing it by number of shares in the business. So this gives me a free cash flow per share. Then I am dividing it by the stock price of that time, which is giving me a free cash flow yield, which is 44%, 22% and 10%. So this company is just throwing out cash specifically in the last 3 years. But the management is not able to deploy that full cash back into the business. They're only able to deploy 45%. चाहे वो बायबैक में लिया हो, चाहे वो उन्होंने डिविडेंड करा हो, चाहे उन्होंने मशीनरी लिया हो, चाहे कुछ भी करा हो, धंधे के अंदर केवल 45% गया है. और वो जो 45% गया है वो 25% से वो कंपाउंड कर पा रहे हैं. So their aggregated intrinsic value has grown by 11%. How does your value change? Right? Now we are worried and we are mad at looking at ROEs and ROCs. Even if my ROC goes to say 50%, right? And Opportunity size सबको पता है कि what is a moat and what is a reinvestment mode. A moat is a legacy mode where you earn high returns on the capital prior which was invested in the business. बट आगे आप कमा के वापस धंधे में डाल पाओगे या नहीं डाल पाओगे वो एक क्वेश्चन मार्क है. Reinvestment is where you have the opportunity to put back money back into the business and still may be able to earn high rates of return. So suppose this reinvestment goes down to 10%. And is ROIC और ROCE और ROE और जितने भी ये किताब में मेट्रिक्स आते हैं, these are 50%, right? Because we don't think beyond this, his value will be compounding at 5%, which is half of what this company is doing. So here, increasing तराजू होता है ना, increasing this weight in the weighing scale, decreasing this to 25% gives you a higher number. Similarly, if the business is able to say put back 65%, right? And this goes down to say 15%, still you are at the same juncture of 10-11%. So don't go and blindly look at your return ratios, how much money the company is able to put back into the business, and what are the incremental returns they are able to get. This is how you dissect that. There is a business which was able to deploy back 0.5%. भी ये 0.5% इसमें आ नहीं रहा है because मैंने उसको वो करना पड़ेगा decimals. So this business which I had studied was able to deploy back only 0.5% of their profits, but the return on incremental investments was 205%. What was actually happening? The incremental value, the intrinsic value compounding was just 1%. 205% ROC होने के बावजूद भी वो स्टॉक प्राइस बढ़ता नहीं था. Why? Because it was throwing away tons of cash. ये जो बाकी का 99.5 था, this was sent back to the parent company to deploy because there was no opportunity here to deploy. So what is GPIL? There is not much of an opportunity here to deploy. So what are they doing? कैपेक्स करना इसकी मजबूरी हो गई. कैपेक्स नहीं करूंगा तो इतने पैसे का मैं करूंगा क्या? इतने पैसे अगर मैं बैलेंस शीट पे लेके बैठा रहूंगा, डिविडेंड नहीं दूंगा, बायबैक नहीं करूंगा तो मेरे रिटर्न रेशियोज वैसे ही मर जाएंगे. I'll have a bloated stomach. Let's take another example in the same industry. Let's take APL Apollo की अब स्टील की बात कर रहे हैं. So this is the stuff. Let's take last 3 years. So first step is what are my cumulative earnings of the last 3 years? This number plus this number plus this number. So in the last 3 years the company has made 1621 crores of profit. वो cyclical है, क्या है, ऊपर है, नीचे है, वो सब चीजें आ गई. So what is the capital employed in the business in the last 3 years? Let's take the current liabilities from the balance sheet and subtract it from the total assets. So this is your trade payables and this is your advances जो कि ज़्यादा नहीं है, right? ये आपका total आ गया. And once you get to the current liabilities, so how much capital has gone in the business? This number divided by, subtract this number, which is 1735 crores. Now, how is it possible when I am making 1621 crores? How can I deploy 1735 crores in the business? There are two reasons over here. One is dilution. See, यहाँ तो इन्होंने बोनस दिया, 25 का 50 किया, right? यहाँ 50 का 55 हुआ. So what have they issued? ESOPs, options, warrants. This is money from here. How do I check this? I can check this from here. 21, 22, 23. I have ये भी आएगा इसके अंदर. I have got these many crores by dilution. 177 crores, 15 crores, 7 crores, 3 crores. If I add up these numbers, 177 plus 15 plus 7 plus 3, it makes mota 200 crores. If I subtract 200 crores from here, this number goes down to 1535. Now I see what is my capital employed divided by my total earnings. It is 95%, which is staggering. So this business has lots of reinvestment opportunities. And if I remove this 200 crores dilution money, it is 107%, even more staggering. So what is the incremental return which they have been able to get? What I want to do is I want to pick the lowest number, which is 21%, because to be conservative. So they are able to put basically all of the money which they are making back into the business, dilution money, forget dividends and all this over here. So their intrinsic value is compounding by 22%, which is double the rate of GPI. Books of value investing, gurus of value investing will tell you cash flows is the king. Cash flows is the king. So that means if you have a high return metrics, you will have cash flows. अरे वो कैश फ्लो को करोगे क्या जब उसको आप वापस धंधे में डाल ही नहीं सकते? जब तक आप उसको धंधे में डाल नहीं सकते, that cash flow what you will do? You can go in the chapati bazaar and eat chaat with it, na? This is called what rate your intrinsic value will compound. This has nothing to do with stock price going up or going down, nothing to do with the price. Now, I want a business, see 15% is my hurdle rate. Why? Because my national GDP is going at 15%, which is inflation plus your normal GDP. 15% is my hurdle rate. So a company making 11% of reinvestments, so उसको अपने पेट के अंदर पैसा वापस डालना ही नहीं चाहिए ना. What is the use? So do some capex, put it somewhere else, and a company doing 22% is good because he has got lots of opportunities and his reinvestment is going beyond 100%. So या तो उसने dilution किया है, या उसने warrants दिए हैं, या उसने ESOPs दिए हैं, या उसने options दिए हैं, कैसे भी करके वो पैसा लेके आ रहा है और उसको वो 21% good use पे use कर रहा है. Even if it is cyclical, see 360 crores का 600 crores हो गया, cyclical है 640 हो गया, नीचे हो गया, ऊपर हो गया. Even if it is cyclical, right? He's been able to deploy money at good rates. How do you judge the management? This is how you judge the management. Capital allocation decisions. Right? इसी चीज को मैंने यहाँ पर ये चीज करके रखी है. Now the problem is थोड़ा सा आपके नंबर्स यहाँ चेंज हो जाएंगे. That is why I want to do it manually. Because if I do it automated, I'm going to forget after 2 months or 3 months, and I want to keep dancing around. See, here the numbers are on average. You will get different numbers over here. Calculations ये भी सही है, but I'm going to do it manually every time, just to keep my brain running. So last 3 years, 22% CAGR compounding intrinsic value, right? अभी प्राइस क्या है मुझे नहीं पता. Look at last 3 years. So it's 21, somewhere around here. 700 rupees price. Now what are they compounding? They are actually compounding cash flows. So how do I do that? I don't go on the cash flow number. I take a free cash flow per share. Then I take a free cash flow yield. So when is the time the company made huge amounts of cash flow? This is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, and this is number 4. So anything around 4% is a good number. What is cash flow yield over here? 4.28%. So they were able to use this 4.28% of free cash flows and deploy it at 21%. So if you see, generally what will happen is, in your 2021, you would not see any major uptick deployment of these cash flows. Once this is done, the stock price doubled in no time. Let's go back in time and look at the cash flows when they had a 6% positive cash flow. ये कैपेक्स करे जा रहा है, इसलिए कैश फ्लोज हर साल पॉजिटिव नहीं आएंगे. What is the 6% positive cash flow in 2017? Now let's do something. Let's take calculation from 2014 till 2017. He'll change this calculation. What is my cumulative earnings from 14 to 17? So I will do that. See, I can automate this and give you an Excel, but उससे कोई फायदा नहीं होने वाला. 375 crores. What is my, because हमने liabilities copy कर दी हैं उसके अंदर. What is my capital employed? But there is a problem. I need to subtract the capital employed of 2013, जो डेटा मेरे पास यहाँ नहीं है. Right? 422 crores. What is the reinvestment rate? 113%. क्या यहाँ पर इसने डाइल्यूशन किया है या कहीं से पैसा उठाया है? 2014 से आ रहा है. 2014 से लेके 2017 तक. Yes, 23 to 24. 23 to 24. This is your 23 to 20, 16, 7, around 11 crores. मोटा मोटा कोई ज़्यादा नहीं. So he has picked up some money. That is why you see your number is going up 113%. Your compounding rate in those terms was 24%, which was even better. So what was compounding? 6% of free cash flow yields. See, the business has to grow. Business has to be profitable. Now 6% dividend free cash flow yields at the end of 2017. Now अगर आप देखोगे तो आपको यहाँ समझ नहीं आएगा. But what was 2017? Stock price of $100, $120, right? 100% return in few months, 4-5 months. Okay, अब ये चार्ट इतना बड़ा हो गया इसलिए आपको ये दिखता नहीं है. Then what has actually happened? Continuous investments, continuous investments, continuous investments. What is 2019? Again the same thing. So whenever the business is generating free cash flows, वो free cash flow कब generate करेगा? जब आपको working capital requirement ज़्यादा नहीं है, जब आपको capex requirement ज़्यादा नहीं, तभी वो free cash flow generate करेगा, नहीं तो नहीं करेगा. And you are able to use that money again, because see, next year again it goes to minus. If you are able to use that money at a higher rate of compounding over time, not 2 days, 10 days, 20 days, nahi, maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, over time, you will be able to compound your value from a 460 crore market cap to a 33,000 crore market cap. Right? So I want this intrinsic value compounding to be as high as possible and sustainable, and the company be able to generate free cash flows. That is that way. Godavari Power will not give you super normal returns. ना, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होने वाला. It will give you sustainable, धीरे धीरे कछुआ चाल चलता रहेगा. We can preserve a capital 14-15% returns. इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं आएगा उसमें. Right? So you need, now let's take an example of different company called Balaji Mines. 6,000 crores market cap, और ये ऊपर भी चला गया था और ये नीचे भी आएगा. दसी 50% गिर चुका है. Let's look at ये Balaji Mines. Give me a second, please. Balaji Mines. So then now let's try and understand this behavior, which is what 2015 till 2020. Let's try and understand. So we elongate our process from 2015 till 2020. Have the sales gone up drastically? 600 crores to 900 crores, hardly a 50% jump. So what is my cumulative profit of these years? Is this. ये क्या हुआ? So I'm doing a sum. My cumulative profit is 509 crores. So what is the capital employed? See, there are several ways to do capital employed. You can do whatever way suits you good. Don't try to copy this way. अगर आपको कोई दूसरा तरीका अच्छा लगता है करो. बहुत सारे तरीके करने के लिए. This is all 0,0,0,0. 509 crores is my cumulative earnings. From 2020, my capital was 1,054 crores. My starting capital was 534 crores. 520 crores my capital has gone up. Let's do this. फिर confusion होगा ना. Let's take the starting of this capital only. 480 crores मेरा capital ऊपर गया है and 509 crores मेरी earnings है. तो कितना पैसा मैं अपनी earnings का वापस लगा पाया हूँ मेरे business में? Staggering 94%. बाकी का dividend में दे दिया होगा. And in these years from 15 to 20, this was 15 to 20. What is my average return on capital employed is मोटा 17%. मोटा मैंने average पकड़ा 17%. So at what rate my intrinsic value compounded in last these many years? 16%. तो जितना मैं free cash flow कमा पा रहा था, my aggregated value compounded at 16%. What was the maximum level of free cash flows? It was always cash flow positive. See, 9% is a very high level of free cash flow. जितनी आती नहीं है. 10% is a very high level. It was always very cash flow positive. That is why you are able to see these kind of maddening returns. 2019, 2021. What came your free cash flow yield? 10%. And 10% of what? 10% of this number. So this 83 crores is 10%. Now this 83 crores has compounded at 16% for 1-2 years. This is the amount of value you get. Now what happened after 2020? क्यों ये परेशान हो गया ये? Let's take after 2020. इसको हुआ क्या? So this is the 3 years. After 2020, 932 crores of profit. What is my capital employed in the business? Is this. What is the reinvestment? 71%. What is the average return on these reinvestments is 28%, right? ROC आपका बढ़ गया. Now they say is able to combine 20%, but still the stock price is going down. मैंने आपको बोला this is not your market timing tool, but still your stock price is going down. Why? Because you did not have that amount of free cash flows. Everything you were making, you were putting back into the business. You did not have free cash flow. So what will actually compound the free cash flows? 2023 they have got this free cash flow, right? So in the last 3 years, stock price is simply going down, down and down. And then maybe in the last 6 months, it's doing nothing. Market wants more confirmation. So is it a time your Balaji Mines has bottomed out? Very much possible. It attained a median PE. Very much possible. Right? So not a 2 time. I want a consistent compounder, which is compounding intrinsic value at high rates of return, available at a reasonable valuation. Available at a reasonable valuation. This is how you see your compounding of intrinsic value. Now how do you get to reasonable valuations? बहुत सारी चीजें करने को आप सिर्फ एक देख लो कि ये मेरा मीडियन पे was this a reasonable valuation of 50p when my median is 20 or was this a valuation lower than my median or approximately to my median? एक आपको एक अंदाजा लग जाएगा. This is not a correct way to value. एक अंदाजा लग जाएगा because this business is valued on earnings. This was extremely high. This can be counted as a reasonable valuation. Valuation is a totally different ball game. करने के बहुत सारे तरीके, right? So focus on those businesses not only where your return metrics are high, where your investments going back into the business at high rate of returns are there. So anything above 15% continuously over there and available at a reasonable valuation should be your candidate for further filtration and looking at to buy. I hope this is clear. Any questions? No questions? मेरी आवाज आ भी रही कि नहीं आ रही आप लोगों को?
आ रही है सर.
Sir, I have a question. अभी the businesses like जो investment expense कर देते हैं, okay. So for example, they keep on expensing in the P&L only. In that case, आपका ये calculation how it looks like, say, because you will not be able to see the आपका net profit भी कम हो जाएगा, okay. So आपका reinvestment also will not be seen.
Sir, actually what you have to do is you have to take a PBT. You don't have to take a PAT number because PAT numbers are distorted by taxes, right? And इन्वेस्टमेंट जो एक्सपेंस कर देते हैं ना, ये बेटर नंबर इज एबिट नंबर, अर्निंग बिफोर इंटरेस्ट एंड टैक्सेस. उसके अलावा जो भी एक्सपेंस कर देते हैं दैट इज अ रियल एक्सपेंस. So rather than taking PAT, take an EBIT number and then see how much of reinvestments are going back into the business and then try and compute कि मेरा कितना intrinsic value compound कर रहा है. The stability of the compounding, the higher the better, and most importantly available at a reasonable valuation. See, I'm not trying to emphasize more on the valuation part के pinpoint यार इसी price पे लेना है उसी पे लेना है, नहीं. I'm trying to more on emphasize on the right business, the correct business. If the business is correct, even if you buy at a little high price, the growth will take care of you. But all this will depend when you are an investor. You are not a short-term trader or a chartist. Because everybody is looking at charts. मैंने यहाँ ले लिया, अभी क्या होगा, वो क्या होगा. Everybody has satellite portfolios. It is a waste of time to have satellite portfolios. आप लोगों को करना है करो. I don't have no say in that. It's your own personal decision. Satellite portfolios are a total waste. These are flaws, noise, which is given to us in our heads. Anything below 3 years is a trade. Okay. Any other questions, sir?
So, sir, when you say take EBIT, so which means that we are not looking at free cash flow in that case, right? We are looking at just the
Why
EBIT.
not?
That should be
What is see, I'm taking what the company has earned. What the company
okay, right.
What the company has earned and what they have put back into the business. That is why I'm taking an EBIT. I'm not considering taxes. I'm not considering just one second, sir. हाँ नहीं, I'm not taking anything as money given to the money lenders, the suppliers of capital, the taxes, the government. What is the core earnings? Rather
Right,
you can
sir.
take
Yeah.
EBIT, rather you can take no pads, mine the same thing. See, there are several ways to do it. Why I don't want to show these calculations to everybody over here, because everybody gets down to Excels and numbers. Don't pinpoint the numbers. That is not going to help you to understand the logic, the factors behind those numbers. अगर मेरे को पूछो कि अगर मेरे को ये सब कैलकुलेशन करनी है तो मैं पिन पॉइंट नंबर भी नहीं देखने वाला हूँ. और प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि क्वेश्चन सवाल ऐसे ही आते हैं, सर इसमें ऐसा हो गया, इसमें वैसा हो गया, ये नंबर मेरा मैच नहीं कर रहा, वो नंबर मेरा मैच नहीं कर रहा. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? जब आपको स्टॉक चार्ट पे देख के 4 दिन के लिए लेना है तो आपको इन सब चीजों से क्या फर्क पड़ता है? कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. So the point is, are you really an investor? Because you need to ask that to your own self. उसके बाद सारी कहानी बाद में आती है.
Yes, it makes sense. EBIT makes sense, sir, because I think I was analyzing one of the company. I think this only Expro only, and I could see that the tax part is varying so much. The amount of tax paying year over year. So combining the calculation will only mislead it.
See, what I've done is I've again done the calculations of Balaji, and I've done it on a EBIT part. Similarly, what is coming? 16%. The company is able to deploy back 56% money. So rather than not looking at even the ROICs or ROCs, those are still secondary for if I want to try and calculate this, or if I want to look at this, I want to see what is the opportunity size. Is this the opportunity size which is great? Probably not. Anything below 50 is probably not. These are the EBIT numbers, 16% compounding. The other buddy for this is alkyne amines. Same business, 55% market share, and similar kind of a flip-flop. See, 14 to 20 was a boom period, and people made lots of money, then people lost lots of money. Alkyne amines. So if I see 14 to 20, what was actually happening? What was their compounding? Now I'll take the EBIT numbers to show you this. नो प्लीज, अगर किसी को लगता है कि मेरे नंबर वो नहीं मैच कर रहे, आप मेरे को ये एक्सेल दे दो, ये कर दो, वो कर दो, आपने शेयर नहीं करा, वो नहीं करा, सॉरी बॉस, नॉट देयर टू स्पून फीड. प्लीज डू योर ओन वर्क. क्या था वो? 16 to 20. These are my cumulatives. Again, I'm taking a pad only, sorry. See, EBIT for me is little different. EBIT for you could be different. Why? Have a look. I have removed other income from EBIT. You will not do that because किताब आपको वो नहीं सिखाती. What is my capital employed from 14 to 20? 16 to 20, sorry. What has actually happened? Again 50%. बोलो. तो इसके बूम पीरियड में भी क्या इसके पास वो फ्री कैश फ्लो अपॉर्चुनिटी, वो कह रहा हूँ, रीइन्वेस्टमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी थी? नहीं थी. दैट इज व्हाई यू सी दीज काइंड ऑफ numbers. 10% free cash flow yield. वैल्यू इन्वेस्टिंग किताब बोलेगी इससे अच्छा धंधा ही नहीं है, राइट? और स्टॉक प्राइस भी आपका भाग रहा है, तो आप बोलोगे वाह मैंने पढ़ लिया, मैंने सीख लिया, इससे अच्छा धंधा ही नहीं है. No, 14 to 17 is 16 to 17 was this 20% average. कितना इसने कंपाउंडिंग किया? तब आप बोलोगे यार ये तो 10% कंपाउंड कर रहा है. अगर ये 10% कंपाउंड कर रहा है, व्हाई द स्टॉक प्राइस रनिंग लाइक दिस? वैल्यू इज समथिंग डिफरेंट, प्राइस इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. ये ऐसा गया ना घोड़े के माफिक, ये आया ना नीचे घोड़े के माफिक. व्हाई इट इज नॉट एबल टू सस्टेन ओवर हियर? बिकॉज द प्राइस रैन टू फार अहेड from the value, from the fundamentals. This is that the price ran too far ahead. Why? Simply because of P ratios. ये था आपका 20, simply because of P ratios. The price ran too far ahead. ठीक है. Now if these P's were suppose here only, and this is 3 times down, the P's were here only, what is actually happening? Still the P, see, price is coming down from July of 21. Has the P come down? No.
Earnings are supporting.
अरे सर, earnings are not supporting. उल्टा बोल गए आप.
Okay. So
earnings are not supporting. See, earnings are not supporting. Price is coming down.
Price is coming down and P is staying there. Right.
Yeah.
Opposite.
इसलिए तो ये इतना धीरे धीरे गिर रहा, नहीं तो ये ज्यादा जोर से गिरा होता, राइट? Still it is highly valued, 9.5 times book value. Still it is highly valued. So do you want to time this? Sorry, mistaken, not a timing tool. Do you want to see कि मैं यहाँ ले लूँ और वहाँ बेच दूँ और मेरा यहाँ चल जाएगा और वहाँ गिर जाएगा? नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा. If it is available at a good price, at a sensible price, at a fair price, and my intrinsic value is compounding and it is available at a sensible price, I want to be there. Stay put. See, markets are not going to run as per my directions. They're going to go up and down depending upon the mood of the investors, fear and greed. Right? That is going to
Kinetics is one good example to study in the sense like.
Which example, sir?
Kinetics chemicals.
There are several examples. You can try and do many companies which you like. There are several examples. See, everybody cannot do everything. वो भी आपको पता है. So I have to just share you a thing. You have to look at the sensible prices also. If the price is sensible and my intrinsic value is compounding, और वो stock price तो ding dong करता ही रहेगा. What do you need to worry? I don't need to worry. Right? If the intrinsic value is not compounding and still the price is going up, and then I need to look at charts and time my exits. That is the time you need to look at charts. So, do fundamental investors don't look at charts? Yes, they obviously do look at charts when they have to look at charts, but not always and blindly, which we the technical guys want to do. Right? So this is how it works. So I'm trying to do with some other company जिसका सब I think फोमो तो स्काई हाई है और सबको इसका फोमो दिमाग में चढ़ा ही हुआ है. कौन सी कंपनी हो? किसका फोमो सबसे ज्यादा है? हाँ, मुझे पता था ये आने वाला है. मुझे पता था इसी का नाम आने वाला है, इसलिए मैंने वो कैलकुलेशन करके रखी है आपके लिए. सीधा नंबर 10%.
You should be looking at this number on a yearly basis or regular basis, right? Because this will be changing, right? Over a period of time, it will be changing.
I would not be looking on a yearly basis. I would rather be looking on a 3-year basis. Why should be I vary for my investments every year? Quarters keep coming and going. To my thing is, I have taken an average of last 7 years. This number. To my thing is, now the average has gone up to 22%. If I make it at 22%, you will be surprised to see the numbers going to 16%, which becomes very good. But now what I want to see is, I want to see the blended numbers. जो आगे जाके ये capex करेगा या आएगा. They are able to deploy back on an EBIT basis. They are able to deploy back 74% of the money which they are making. उनको dividend देने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. They have room to invest the money back into the business. And one more thing, 1 rupee invested back into the business has to generate 1 rupee. So total 44 crores invested into the company, and market cap has gone up, which is good. More than 44 crores. Right? See, don't ask me for the Excel. Don't ask me for the automation stuff. I am not going to do it. Not even personally for my own self. Don't ask me for the formulas. If you are not able to understand, please pause the recording again. You can ask questions for genuine doubts, not for silly questions like Excel and formulas and ये कैसे हुआ और वो कैसे हुआ और मेरी कैलकुलेशन और आपकी कैलकुलेशन मैच नहीं कर रही है. Secondly, I am not going to tell any one of you to study or not to study. That is your own discretion to do that. Who am I to tell you? Right? Now, going ahead, has anybody done any study on Xpro?
Yes, sir, I have done, but actually I have more questions and concerns with the numbers. So
that is good, no? You should have more questions. That's a good thing. मैं धनंजय से पूछना चाहूंगा, धनंजय जी, आपने मेरा गोदावरी का जो अपन ने अभी एनालिसिस किया था सुबह के टाइम में, वो आपने देखा, और कल शाम को जो आप गोदावरी का एनालिसिस कर रहे थे उसके अंदर क्या फर्क निकला सर?
सर कल शाम को नंबर देख रहे थे, फैक्ट देख रहे थे.
कुछ बात उसमें कुछ समझ में आई आपको? कुछ उसमें कुछ आइडिया मिला?
यस सर.
सो yesterday आप बोल रहे थे कि यार गुरुजी सर आपको ROIC देखना है. मैंने आपको ROIC की बात भी करी उस एनालिसिस के अंदर?
नहीं सर.
तो बस फिर again, what I have shared today with you, the reinvestment, the compounding of the CAGR of the intrinsic value is not something to time the market. अगर आप बोलोगे कि ये नंबर मेरा 18%, 17%, 20% है और मेरा शेयर प्राइस बढ़ जाएगा तो धोखा खाओगे. This is nothing to do with the timing of the market. Please keep that in mind very clearly. और इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि ये हो गया तो उसका मतलब वो हो गया. Even at a higher rate of compounding, your stock price can still come down. Markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So please keep that in mind. This is nothing to do with 6 months or 3 months or 2 months or one day or 5 day or 10 day. This is nothing to do with satellite portfolio, which in my humble opinion is a flaw in everybody's minds. This is nothing to do with charts. Until unless you are an investor, if you are buying and selling your companies in less than 3 years, you are a speculator. Please take that on face value. Please take that on face value. If I am also buying and selling any company in less than 3 years, I am also a speculator. 3 साल से पहले कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं होती है. और आप तो यहाँ तो ऐसे लोग हैं जो 3 घंटे में बदल जाते हैं. So these things are not useful for anyone who has a shorter time horizon than 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, not 3 months. Please keep that in mind. It is not a timing tool. ठीक है? Any questions?
अरे ये कल जो जीपीआईएल के हम लोग नंबर्स मैंने नंबर्स एनालाइज किया था सर. तो मुझे जो दिखा सर उसमें ये दिखा कि उसका सेल्स डाउन हो रहा है. ठीक है सर, मतलब टॉप लाइन उसकी डाउन हो रही है, बट मटेरियल एंड अदर एक्सपेंसेस क्या कर रहे हैं, इतने कंट्रोल्ड हैं या इतने डिक्रीज हुए हैं कि उन्होंने प्रॉफिट को सेम लेवल पे मेंटेन किया हुआ है. जितना आपने शेयर किया था उसमें जो मुझे प्राइमरी फेसी दिखा, मैंने पूरा डीप में नहीं किया, लेकिन उससे मुझे यही दिखा सर. तो इसका मतलब वो जो बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेशन है उसका इफेक्टिवली काम कर रहा है. लेटर मैंने शायद आपने या किसी ने पोस्ट किया था ना प्राइस का चार्ट कि कैप्टिव माइंस में क्या हो रहा है और जो मार्केट प्राइस क्या है. तो अल्टीमेटली ये सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिशियरी रहेगा. जो परचेज करके बनाएगा वो उसके मार्जिन और ज्यादा ड्रॉप होंगे.
पता नहीं सर, वो धनंजय जी को पता होगा, मुझे नहीं पता सर।
नहीं, आप उसमें एलोबरेट करने के लिए बोल रहे थे ना सर, तो अब मैं आपका व्यू जानना चाह रहा हूँ।
सर अब यही तो बात है, जो डिस्कशन हो रहा है वहां तो कोई सवाल है नहीं, जो डिस्कशन हो चुका है वहां के सवाल, यही तो
मैं
प्रॉब्लम
पार्टिसिपेट नहीं किया था अभी, सॉरी
तो आपको
सॉरी सर, मैं
आपको सर
पार्टिसिपेट नहीं किया था जस्ट।
आपको सर सुबह वाला कॉल देखना चाहिए।
सर अभी जस्ट ऑफिस से आया, देखा कॉल चल रही थी तो मैंने ज्वाइन कर लिया।
कोई बात नहीं सर, आपको जब टाइम मिले आप देखो सर। ठीक है, तो कैन वी टेक द एक्सप्रो डिस्कशन लेटर ऑन?
हाँ सर, just एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था to further analyze it. I had a question regarding that the tax rates that are changing so much quarter to quarter, year to year. Where can I get how to get information about why that changes, sir? Any
These are because of deferred tax assets and liabilities, mainly because of those.
Okay.
To get to those, go to the annual report and see the deferred tax assets and liabilities.
Okay. For last couple of years.
And why do these deferred tax assets and liabilities come? Because the depreciation schedule in companies law is much different than depreciation schedule in income tax law. So that is why these deferred tax assets and liabilities come. These are the main reasons for that.
Okay.
Chalo, thank you. Enjoy your Sunday.